Snakeybus is one of those games where the concept is so interesting that it compels you to play, only to realize the concept is all that's interesting about it. The game has you driving a bus around a level, picking up passengers and dropping them off at their stop. The curveball comes after dropping off those people, the bus gets longer, from 4 buses to potentially as high as 1,000, but the world record is currently in the 1400s. The longer you play, the longer your bus will become, and eventually you will be so long that you become the biggest obstacle. Every level begins with familiarizing yourself with the game's obstacles and potential routes you can take, but the real challenge swiftly becomes yourself. When the Snakeybus gets long enough, you'll be in your way most of the time, and the challenge is then finding routes where you're not constantly running into yourself. When you commit to an action, the rest of the bus must follow. Essentially, this is a 3D version of the Snake game, and it creates interesting gameplay ideas, where the player's actions themselves are their consequences, but also their own challenge. It's also satisfying driving along a ramp and seeing the middle of your bus moving along from the other side of the map. It fills me with the same joy as watching model trains circling around a miniature railroad. Anyway, the sound design is minimal almost to a fault, but the sound of screaming passengers never ceases to amuse me. The music in this game is mostly ambient tracks that should clash with the chaos of what's on screen, but actually turns Snakeybus into a wind-down game. With that being said, I am conflicted about the rest of the game's sound design. Beyond the music and the sounds of screams and burning rubber, the game is very quiet. You will be hearing the roar of engines or the screech of metal crunching into each other. A part of me would like a more kinetic sound experience, but I've been using this game to relax, so maybe a quieter experience is what the devs were looking for. The problem comes with level design that doesn't make a lot of sense. Such as the dorm, which, while it accurately resembles a college dorm, has obstructions that don't result in conducive level design, and often lead to failures because the natural way I found was blocked by a swivel chair or a toilet lacking an obvious exit strategy. Then there's the game's requirement for constant movement. The game doesn't make that apparent, not even with a Speed starring Keanu Reeves style bomb on the bus that goes off it isn't moving. It's at least a gameplay element that the player adopts after a few failures. What I don't like is there's a lack of options when you're about to collide with yourself. If you're trapped, then all you can do is perform a jump that is at best finicky, and at its worst actually hampers you. Granted, you can chalk up a lot of my problems to a lack of foresight, as the game eventually demands that you think 20 steps ahead when you have 200 buses behind you. Perhaps if more movement options were available, then it wouldn't be so bad, but at present, there's a limitation at higher levels. Ultimately, the biggest problem Snakeybus has is a lack of content. There's no progression, no differences in how some of the other buses play, only different maps, which do offer different challenges with each one, what with Dorm having a very cramped design, Museum having the same destination for all passengers and designed with an infinity symbol, Seattle having a more realistic cityscape but lacking proper model collision and being the most frustrating level in the game, the suburb in Paris acting as realistic depictions of cities, and the final level is like a real-life cylinder. You ever seen Interstellar? Well, never mind. Honestly, there isn't anything else that this game offers in the form of challenge. The game plateaus very quickly, which is unfortunate because I'm in love with the concept so much. I think it says a lot that I came back wanting more from Snakeybus. Not more levels, just more variety. In the end, you're paying $10 for a promising concept, or less if you wait for a sale, which is what I would recommend. And when you're finished with that game and want to play the next evolution of the Snake game, I suggest you play Crazy Taxi.